How close to reality do your leaders need to be? Well, now of course you will say, well, of course they need to be close to reality because all their decision must reflect on the reality of everyone who works there, of the whole organization, the reality of the market, the reality of every single person spending their time to work for you, and of course the reality of your client. So, of course you will say they must be very close to reality, but are they? If we look into what we see right now, we had a couple of quite, let's say, interesting statements in the recent past where people made different kind of statements and they were surprising in different ways. Just to give you a couple of examples, and after we went through the examples, we're going to talk about how to do it better. First example is Matt Hancock. You might know him, Matthew John David Hancock. He's a British politician and he's serving as the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care since 2018. And he complained about the fact that during the global pandemic, some people went to work although they were sick, although they were ill, although they knew that they might spread a disease or any kind of sickness on other people. And that, of course, is unacceptable. Well, maybe Mr. Hancock should rethink about the fact that in other countries, for example, the Netherlands, way smaller than the UK, or Germany, way larger than slightly larger than the UK, that in these countries you get between 100%, 80%, sometimes 60% of your former salary, while in the UK, where costs of living are significantly higher, especially in areas like London, while at the same time the real incomes after taxes are significantly lower. And when you're sick, you sometimes only get an average about 30% of your former income. Some of the employees only get statutory pay, which is quite slightly less than £100 per week. That doesn't even cover the rent, not even talking about bills and the food you need to buy. So, very surprising that they go to work when they're sick. They of course could stay home and then run with open eyes into not being able to pay their rent, their bills and their food. Not too close to reality, is it? Just to give you another example, we just had an article of Professor Cunning. Professor Cunning is the leading professor for professional development, so how to develop the people in your organization professionally based on science and facts. And he wrote an article in Germany, and the article was titled "Speaker, from being a profession to being a swear word." And he was talking about the German-speaking scene of professional speakers. Just to let you know, this is not a judgment on the English-speaking world. You have a completely derivation, etymology, and history with professional speaking. In Germany, that history doesn't exist. If you think of German history, do you know any famous German speakers? Yeah, exactly that one. And that is the reason why they do not have a history. But some pseudo-smart marketers thought, hey, we could just say we take the English term speaker, sounds sort of cool, and then create an artificial market where it's all about, and I here just quote or give a summary from Professor Cunning's article, it's all about the show, content is irrelevant. And some of these practices were appalling in the recent past. We had multiple wrongdoings from official institutions in this industry with no consequences whatsoever from their completely non-diverse leadership area. So Professor Cunning said that we need more substance. And of course you could now say, well, he says something because he works in science, so he speaks about something which is only in his favor, isn't he? Does anyone ever say something which is not in their favor? And here we go with another example. I talk about Dr. Patrick Oehler. Dr. Patrick Oehler did his PhD at the Technical University in Munich, a top 50 university worldwide according to the QS University ranking system. He started his own company, his own business, Retorio. It's the first company that has an AI-based recognition of personality traits when it comes to recorded interviews. A groundbreaking research, and I did an interview with him just a couple of weeks ago. You can find it in the other podcast before. And he said that formal degrees are not that important anymore. It's about skills and it's about the right personality. So someone who made a PhD, did his PhD at one of the most challenging, most difficult, hardest to get universities, said, oh, degrees are not that important. Not about degrees here. It is about the skills, getting the right people and getting the right personality. Because you can, of course, add skills by training, but changing a personality, not so much. So what's happening here? Because you might know that sometimes you worked in your organization, the senior leadership area made a decision and everyone just shook their head in disbelief and thought, how could they come to that conclusion? A senior leadership team which then often has no touch with reality of the people who work there and with the clients they serve. So what's behind that? Because we don't want to wave with a moral high finger. We simply want to say, what is the way how we can do it better? So step number one is sometimes you don't have contact with working class realities due to your own CV. It's not your fault when you're born into a wealthier background, but you then have to realize what is the right thing to say and what is the wrong thing to say. Just to give you an example here, Alexander, Count of Lambsdorff, he's a German politician from the FDP. These are the liberals, the party in Germany that is in for less regulation and lower taxation. And as a self-employed entrepreneur, I, of course, always, full disclosure, my personal bias, I am a former member of that party and I still vote for that party in Germany. In the UK, I would be more with the Conservative, not the Boris Johnson style. They keep on telling me I am old style Conservative. So, for example, supporting David Cameron for me was an option without, of course, the referendum. Just to give you a background of my personal political impressions and ideas, because this podcast would be dishonest if I wouldn't give you my personal potential bias, which we could have here. So this person, Alexander, Count of Lambsdorff, once made a statement on TV where he said, when people are unable to pay their rent, they should think about purchasing the flat. These are great examples of practical solutions from, well, not really the real world. And now again, it's not your fault when you were born into wealthier circumstances, but you need to know what are the real challenges people are facing so you don't make remarks like these. So I just give another example. What's behind it as well is not really a network, it's more a group of insider deal focused people. You simply say that the show and helping each other no matter what is more important than the substance these people deliver. So you're not in about real world results. You're not in for meritocracy. You're not in for the hard working person. You're only in to do a favor to someone else to then afterwards expect another favor back from them. And that is one of the many reasons why sometimes in certain positions you have wildly incompetent people due to insider deals. They didn't deliver the best results. They only had the best contacts. So these are, of course, formal reasons. And when we now, of course, think about it's all about getting the right results in, why are you then often hiring based on very formal degrees? When you say we need people who have the skills to do the job right, why do you suddenly prefer people from elite universities when you say that the degree isn't that important? Is it maybe about their network? Is it about their contacts? Is it about maybe their family and their network? Silence, 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 and we all know what the answer is. So, of course, now the question is, how can you do it better? So step number one is when you don't have contact to the life reality of other people of different social classes. There is no shame in it, but you need to know what are their motivations. So just give you one example. One of the leading German recruiting platforms did a research and they said, we are in for the working class and we ask about their motivation. Because of course, many will now say the motivation is work-life balance, number one. And the study was made, working class people, number one was payment. Number two was happiness, etc., etc. But first was the appropriate payment must be in place. Something that hardly anyone expected. So when you don't have contact to the life reality of people from different so-called social classes, first do your own research or pay someone to do the research and present it to you. Get professional training and coaching so you are prepared to deal with different challenges within your organization. And by the way, certain companies already implemented that. Burger King, when you are senior leadership or even board level, these people must work in branch offices, produce burgers, work at the drive-thru, etc., etc., so they see what are the challenges we face in the workplace. And by the way, There's a TV show called Undercover Boss, which claims that it's their system. It is not. It is called training on the job. There's scientific evidence for that. It is decades old, so it's not even new, and it is not invented by TV. They just tried to market it, and they did it in a quite smart way. Still, it is not their idea. So after you've done the research or someone did it for you and you receive professional training and coaching, always distinguish between facts and opinion. When you say we are now facing a crisis, the facts we have say we should go that way, but the facts do not give enough evidence. So we ask a team of experts and we simply have an opinion, and due to that opinion we go that way. People will accept that, because you gave them a reason. Why did we decide that way? And when you talk to different people on different areas in your organization before, they will of course communicate with their team, they will give you their ideas, and they will agree on the way because you asked them before. And of course what you need is you must have in place proper job description, because when you have proper job descriptions in place, you will already see, and that's what many people are now looking for in their organization after the COVID-19 crisis. When you have proper job descriptions in place, you will see where you have overlaps, where you can be more efficient, more effective. I'm German. I'm obsessed with that. That is one of the reasons why my organization went well, because I was focusing on these job descriptions. And the job descriptions show you where are the overlaps, where can you now have a better recruiting strategy, where can you cut the line clearer to be more efficient and more effective. And of course, you will focus on getting the job done. Getting results. There's a book from Randy Pennington, which I highly recommend, especially when you want to understand how American workforces work. Like Getting Things Done by Randy Pennington is a good book to start with. So these practical solutions are an aspect which will bring you and get you away from only hiring based on formal degrees. And by the way, formal degrees are not bad, not at all. You never leave university less smart than you entered, but you must give a really good reason. Why do you need a formal degree to hire person A over person B when person B has the better practical results and skills? Because the time, and that is something that Dr. Patrick Oehler from the Technical University of Munich already said, the time that the formal degree is the number one reason, these times are already over. Because during the pandemic, many people rethought what is their idea, how do they want to spend their lives? And many people came to the conclusion that the number one is not work. So when you want to look at a very work-forced society, look at South Korea. South Korea, between 50 years ago and today, their economy grew 300 times stronger. It's a very strong economy today. People are basically focused on work. Every worker has the right three weeks of vacation. Many of them don't take the vacation because it's not socially accepted. And you could say, wow, that is productivity. People all want to have a career. Oh, by the way, they have the highest rate of children and pupil suicide. You might have thought it's Japan. Japan has a very high rate, but now in certain areas, South Korea overtook them. Do you want to be accountable for that? Do you think that this is going to be the European conclusion from this crisis? Spoiler alert, it's not. When people think about being happy or being at work, most people prefer to live the life a happy way, probably in a different job than they are in now. According to edX, which is a learning platform founded by the Harvard University and MIT, 2/3 of the worldwide workforce which take part in this study, and the study had more than 50,000 people taking part, and so it is representative. More than 2/3 of the workforce at the moment think, where do they want to work after the crisis? So they are reconsidering working for you. So the question, do you have to be close to reality? Yes, you have to be, because when you're not close to reality, of all the different people you have in your organization, you will lose what is most important for you. And the most important aspect is the social legitimization, that people on a social level accept you as a leader, because you only follow a leader who you truly believe in. And that is not based on a formal degree. I wish you all the best implementing this in your organization. And for this week, there's only one thing left to say. Thank you very much for your time.